variance of perspective on tattoos from the scholars.
So you argue for it, yeah.
I say that varying on what they are, because you can get tattooed, like you can wax and do a whole bunch of stuff, right? And wear in which for beautification, and it's an accepted Islamic thing. And usually what people say when it's haram, you say, why is it haram? They'll tell you it's in the Quran, it says tattoos are haram. And you say, no, it actually isn't, so why is it haram? And the best thing that they can say to you is that you're not allowed to change the creation of Allah, right? Fair. But if you're not allowed to change the creation of Allah, you say to them, but if I cut my hair, if I cut my nails, if I do anything, it's changing the creation. They say, no, that's silly, it's mutilation, like actually harming yourself. You're not allowed to harm yourself.
Is that
This is their standing.
They say that you're mutilating
Yeah,
yourself.
and you're harming yourself. That's what some of us say. And then I say, well, circumcision is self-harm too. I mean, you're taking your dick and you're cutting the top of it off. That's a permanent scar. Like, that's a permanent thing you've done. Yeah, Allah told you to do so. Or like it's a cultural norm to do so, yeah. So why is one thing okay to change? Why is another thing not okay? You see? And so then,
You run across the radical.
I mean, I ran across, because it's not just the radicalized ones who are like that, but the staunch ones, yeah. But the thing about the staunch is, I like, you know, if they're like Salafi, they're hardcore Salafi, like if they're like that, I don't bother. Because it's fine, man. Like, I don't care. You can believe what you want to believe. If they listen to actually what I believe, they would trip the fuck out, bro. They would call me a kafir left, right, and center. I'm telling you. If they got into detail, if they got me on evolution, what the fuck, it's fine. I'm a rationalist. I would mock them because here's the thing about it. The reason I became like a Muslim, I accept Islam, is it makes sense, right? And the thing that people always talk about other religions is they criticize how irrational it is. How can a Christian believe that God is one but three? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, right.
So we push this agenda of, well, it's irrational. Then we turn around and have fucking stupid, superstitious, irrational beliefs, and then we expect everyone to believe that.
Yeah.
But that's dogma. Like you're doing the same thing that you're claiming is the reason why you wouldn't follow somebody else.
I see
You see what I mean?
I just hope, man, like I see some sort of radical people, man.
Yeah.
One person like walked out of the Y Factor when I was emceeing,
Yeah.
like music. Were you there?
No, you told me about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
But I know you, Moshe. You're like me, bro. See, I don't believe music's haram. That's fine if you want to believe it is, bro. But you cannot show me in the Quran where it says haram.
Like, I told Louis about this place.
Yeah,
It's so stupid, man. Say, well, we did okay, MC, like, yeah, one of these MCing events, I had the most awesome idea. I was so good friends with the DJ that I told him, look, when I pause, I want you to hit this sound effect. And on the second pause, hit this sound effect. And the third pause. And I had clips from all of these songs. So when I paused, like the clip of Madonna would show up, yeah. It's on the screen and she's saying it, yeah. But I was completely like dumbfounded. That's what I said on the mic. I was completely dumbfounded. I stood there and Madonna's Frozen would come on. You see, I tried it and I had on the Michael Jackson one. When I put they don't really care about us, when I said that the truth is, and you hit it, that bloke just got up and stormed out, man. He made it for two. I came back later for dinner. I approached him. I said, "Hey man," I said, "Why'd you walk out?" I understand. Didn't even want to like try and discuss the issue.
Nah, straight, just straight, just haram, that's it, yeah.
And you said to him, but nowhere in the Quran.
Well, why?
Haram.
Yeah, like.
You're basing on a hadith. But hadith, you're not allowed to take hadith as haram and halal. It has to be based on the Quran. You can back, you can support the Quran.
Yeah.
Me, I wasn't even trying to argue for it. I said, yeah, I said, fair enough, use this haram. I told him.
Like that, bro.
Yeah, there's a lot of things,
you know,
bro.
the
There's a
verse
lot of
they
things
use
like
in
that,
the
though.
Quran, they say that it's idle talk. There's a verse that says, and like, do not waste your time with idle talk.
Yeah.
And they say idle talk is music. But idle talk is idle talk. Music is music. Like if Allah inferred that music is wrong, like it's haram in its entirety, just clearly you can just say music is haram.
Yeah, don't miss.
But he makes so many other things clear, and then you want to leave this ambiguous as.
Yeah, we've been recording, so.
What?
That whole conversation, bro.
I didn't have the mic on.
Yeah. Yeah, we're live, so.
You know, I didn't even have my headphones on me like that. Bro.
It's all good, bro.
But it
You
is
hear
what
yourself.
it is. Yeah, I can hear myself.
Sweet.
All right,
Yeah,
check me out. Nah, I think I'm good.
I agree. I think the whole idea of music and what's haram and what's halal is like literally been manipulated by people, bro, and they're literally just using the deen to control you and to control outcome that they want to see. Like It's like,
But, you know, I think dogma teaches dogma. So if somebody is raised with a dogmatic understanding of the religion, they're gonna teach it.
yeah,
And most people, their idea of faith and the way that they like learn their religion is inherited.
yeah.
It's not generally like
One side
bro.
is like sounder than the other.
Check.
Yeah, that's the side. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Check. Yeah, so like if you inherit it, then all you're doing is just taking on board the same notions that were just handed to you. And that's the thing. The reason why that never appealed to me or didn't make sense to me, where that was an accepted Islamic like cultural normality that people just inherited their religion from their parents or whatever, is because when the Prophet peace be upon him came to the Meccans who were polytheists and he was telling them that there's only one God, they said, well, we saw our fathers do this, so we follow what they do.
Yeah,
Like that is not the like the justification. You know, you don't just
yeah.
follow
Rationalize what you believe. Like, actually understand it. Actually understand what you're doing. Like, I don't think people actually think about things like,
in that way.
yeah, they don't care. They just wanna be right. That's dogma though.
Yeah, all my I mean
That's
like,
dogma though.
some of
Like,
the
you're
Instagram
wrong.
discussions I have.
In the discussion, it's like,
Yeah.
fam, do you actually like? That's what I've been doing recently. I've actually been going out and listening to all the arguments. Like, what is your argument? What is your argument? What is your argument? Like, are you right? Like it, and then I'm starting to realize like, it really isn't about what's right or wrong. It's about what you believe and what values you hold. Like, so yeah,
Because
it's
right or wrong is still subjective.
it's subjective as hell. You know what I mean? Like.
So that I look at that
Just
as
like the
extra.
Quran in itself, it's like the interpretations, the way you can take things, right?
It's subjective.
It's subjective, bro.
Yeah.
Like one man could come and be like, nah, this verse actually says like to
Yeah.
cut off someone's hand. And then another man could come and be like, no, it actually means this. It doesn't actually mean that. Look at it from this perspective.
What perspective?
Like from the perspective that you're not actually cutting the man's hand off, you're just cutting money away, or you're just
Right, yeah, you're right. I see what you're saying.
like
So
you're
mean-
cutting something off of him.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and that's the way the early scholars were taking it as well. Like they
As in
were,
when people say like I'm cutting you off.
yeah,
like,
right.
You're
You
stuck.
cut value from his life. You
Yeah.
cut, you know what I mean? And then even so, like the Quran says right after that if they repent, then it's all good with Allah. So it
Yeah,
should be
right.
all
So
good
it should
with
be-
you.
yeah, exactly. I've always noticed that. It's like, well, I mean, any situation, repentance is, which really makes it so much more than it's a governing rule, but more so like it's self-government. Like you gotta
Yeah.
face your creator. But you know, even with the different perspectives, the thing about it is there's still like limitations. If somebody comes along and says, "Well, I interpret it that it tells me that I can go out and kill a bunch of people," and I don't respect that. Like your perspective,
Mhm.
you're allowed your way of understanding any kind of scripture up until the point that it affects another person's life. And that's why even when
Because
I
that contradicts the Quran in itself. The Quran tells you not to go out and kill innocent people.
right, it does.
It actually says it, but
It
you
does,
know,
but somebody can come and say, "Well, I don't think they're innocent."
yeah, and somebody can
Right, so
say,
it's
"I want to
there.
get 72 virgins when I
Yeah,
die,"
that's
some dumb shit.
But this is the major issue, I think, when people talk about why is it that people are misinterpreting the Quran. I don't think people are misinterpreting the Quran. I don't think people are reading the Quran. Like when you talk about radical
That's not in the
Muslims,
Quran, but
yeah,
yeah.
no, but that's my point. I don't think radical, or however you want to term it, people who fall to dogma and then fall to an extreme ideal of dogma, they don't read, and even people who don't just fall into dogma, they don't read the Quran as much as they read hadith, right? And then they hold it, and they hold specific books of hadith, because there are
Yeah.
hundreds of books of hadith.
Yeah.
But like books like Sahih Bukhari or Sahih Muslim, these books then become like the pinnacle of what the truth is.
Yeah.
So where in such you have people defending things that are in the Bukhari collection that contradict the Quran, but they will find a way,
To defend that thing.
yeah, instead of
Yeah,
dismissing it.
that's the whole dogma, bro. That's the, and even like literalism, you know what I mean? Taking something to just be literal, that's it. It's not an analogy for something. It's like,
Right today, somebody said to me that no, the Quran is very literal.
yeah,
He said the Quran is literal, you take it literal. So then I shared a verse from the Quran that says, and some of this is literal and some of it has ambiguity. So like it's metaphorical. Like no, the Quran says otherwise, and that's the issue, bro. You know on how many points this person was saying. One of them, he said that the only, because he's from the NOI, saying that the only man that the Quran says that Allah made in clear like terms is the black man. And then I shared the verse that says, and indeed we created all tribes, forms, and colors. Like you're not reading the Quran.
Yeah.
Like people have a whole bunch of, but they don't actually go back to the source.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. So even people when they push and they say
That was
this
my
is
biggest
haram,
problem with it, bro. When I first started to realize, like, whoa, there's a lot of dogma around me. Wait, but people didn't even like read this. Like,
Yeah.
it actually contradicts what you believe. Like, it contradicted some of the beliefs I had. So, like, you know, and
but it's development.
yeah, like I just
As
started
long as you don't
to.
continue to have the same beliefs. Like it's about evolving your beliefs.
Yeah,
At some point
exactly.
you had to realize, like we all had to like, it's an evolution of understanding things. So as I realized, hold up a minute, how I've understood this or how I've been told to understand this, well that's not exactly correct. If I look at what I'm told to understand.
Yeah, man, and it's like there's a certain selection of hadith that you have access to, and then like,
Yeah.
fam, do you know how much hadith there is out there?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it should be in.
Half of it contradicts itself. Like half
Yeah,
of it
But
contradicts.
of course it will, because what is hadith? It's just stories
Legit,
narrated
yeah.
that are supposed, some of them are supposed to be attributed to the Prophet through a chain of people. Many times are missing people or people unreliable or like there's been an error in the chains. And even then, when you have a solid chain, if the chain like goes against the Quran, then the chain isn't reliable. Like the Quran itself, like if you're a Muslim and you believe in the Quran, the Quran itself tells you that this is a guided book that will be protected by us.
Yeah.
Right? So it's protected. So you know it's not changed. But the hadith does not have that guarantee.
Yeah. Right.
Right? So you know it will change.
Yeah. There's
And
hadith of the Prophet saying, don't take hadith. Like don't.
Don't write the hadith. So like
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of contradictions, bro.
So if you look at the like
if people don't catch
understand
that,
hadith as sunnah. And
Yeah.
that's why they justify the need or the necessity. People say Quran and Sunnah, so how can you then dispute Hadith? You need to keep Hadith. And it's like no one's saying you don't look at Hadith. But that's not Sunnah. Sunnah is the way of the Prophet,
the
tradition.
actions. Yeah.
So all the
100%.
people before, like Bukhari comes hundreds of years later and writes. So all the people up until that point, how did they know how to pray? How did they know how to like make wudu? Like they didn't learn that from Hadith. They learned that through tradition. They
Yeah,
saw it for
100%.
themselves. The first generations witnessed it. The Prophet himself, there's a hadith that says that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, watch me pray and do as I pray. Right? Which meant that throughout his life, he could have prayed in multiple different ways. And as they watched him, they practiced it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't something written. That was something that was handed down. You know what I mean? And that's why like the Maliki madhab is such an advocate for the idea of the traditions of Medina, because the
Yeah, the
Sunnah was
actions,
handed
yeah.
down. Yeah.
The actions of people are
Yeah.
important because you learn from actions. It's like monkey see, monkey do.
Exactly. No, exactly. While a story that's one-on-one can easily change.
Yeah, right. And
Change
then you
what's-
take these stories over the actions. Why? I don't understand.
Right. And then above all
And to
the
each person their belief, man. Like
right, of course.
I don't
But
like.
but that's the issue, bro.
But
They'll
you
say
have to be
you-
able to debate your thing in a conversation with someone. Like if I'm gonna talk to you about something and then you're like to me, oh, but the hadith says this, and then I contradict it and I'm feeding you all this stuff, and then you're just like it's like don't mumble. Like don't mumble, you know what I mean? Like know what you're talking about. Like
if you're gonna say
if
you're
you're
gonna
full
correct somebody.
tell me that
Yeah.
the prophet said
Yeah.
this.
So if you're coming to me and you're gonna check me or correct me about something, make sure that you can then back up what you're saying.
Yeah,
'Cause it's all
exactly.
good. I'm here to hear you out, but here's my issue, bro. You can believe what you want, but then don't expect everyone to believe what you believe.
Yeah, 100%.
Like don't look at everyone else over. They're deviant.
Yeah,
Because they don't
100.
see it exactly
No,
how I see it.
100%. Like that whole idea of apostasy and all this stuff, man. It's like, yo, chill out, bro. Like,
Well, the apostasy law is a
Yeah.
perfect example of where you find stories in hadith, but you don't actually see it in the Quran. In the Quran, it says the complete opposite. So hadith will say stuff like, it gives the notion that you kill people who leave Islam.
yeah.
So people believe in this idea that if you leave Islam, then,
And
then
to
your life is
defend
taken.
some shit like
Yeah,
that
and
is
people
so
defend
weak,
that.
man.
Right.
Like to be like, oh no, but it only is applicable for Muslims, or no, it's only
Like, once
bro,
you leave,
shut
but
stop
like-
it.
Right.
Yeah, it's like
so
just
then
stop.
it's like, okay, but look at the Quran. And I had this conversation with somebody who hit me up and they were like, your way of understanding Islam, they were kind of questioning. And I said, all right, so you take every hadith to be like, if it's in the Bukhari, you take it to be Sahih. And she says, yeah. And I say, so you follow it, you believe it regardless. She says, yeah, if it's Sahih, it's Sahih. Yeah. I say, all right, so do you believe that, do you follow the apostasy laws based on some hadith in the Quran, in the book of Bukhari, that give the notion that you kill people if they leave the religion? And she said, if it's the hadith, then yeah.
Wow.
Right? And I said, okay.
Wow.
I said, all right, cool.
Wow.
Then I said, hold
Like,
on.
do people even think for
No,
themselves, bro?
because listen, because if you're like, and it happens sometimes, if
Yeah,
you're
I feel you,
relatively
I
new
feel
to it, or if you've just like, you've been a Muslim all your life, but you didn't really
And
get into it,
you're
and then you
like,
got
yeah.
into it, you just take it all on, and you don't really necessarily
Yeah,
question.
I was like that.
Yeah, you think, no, I gotta take all of this, because you've been told that
This is
Sahih
what's right.
Bukhari,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to take just like you take the Quran, otherwise it's like you question the Quran
It's the
itself.
Sahih of the Sahih.
Yeah, right,
It's like,
right.
fam,
Yeah.
stop it.
So then I say to her, I said, okay, so you would follow that,
Yeah.
right? But in the Quran, there's a whole chapter about Kafirin who says, like, to your religion, yours, and to my religion, my religion. You know, what you believe is what you believe, clearly saying you have the freedom of religion. Then there are other verses that say they come and they pretend to be Muslim and they leave and they come back and pretend and they leave. Just leave them, don't worry about them. Now, if apostasy laws were existent, then how could somebody leave the deen and then come back and then leave the deen? Like, how does the Quran tell you that they can come and go?
Yeah.
And then the Quran throughout it says that there's no, you cannot force someone into the religion. You cannot force someone to believe. Not
Yeah,
even into
there
the
is no
religion.
compulsion
There's no
in this
compulsion.
belief.
Yeah. So if somebody doesn't have that belief, how do you force them to have that belief?
Yeah, that's me.
The hustler. The
Yes.
gangster. The man with the mission.
She's telling you don't be allowed.
Oh, there's tea coming in? Who does not love tea? You know, Motion, you're one of a kind. One of a kind.
We're all one of a kind.
Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, we are the best of you.
Yo.
One of a kind.
Yo, bro.
Yo.
What's
bro.
going on?
Maybe you should take it off the speaker.
Hey, I'm on a
Yeah.
podcast right now. Yeah, mate.
Should I go grab it?
I'll call you back. Alright, bye. Yeah, man. What's really bothersome is when people take things, man, and then they like tell you like, this is it, that's it. Like, and then they don't even know what they believe in, like, and then you're asking people like, what is it you really believe in?
Yeah, it's easy.
It's like, and then you start questioning it with them, and you're like, wait, but did you know this exists? But did you know this opinion exists? And then people are shook. And it's weird, I think, because like Islam nowadays has become more cultural than it is like a spiritual practice. Like, it's like a cultural practice. Like, I do it because my parents did it. And then clearly in the Quran, Abraham tells his people like, yo, why are you worshipping these idols? And they're like, because our parents worship these idols.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I know like people might be like, oh no, but we're not worshipping idols. No, but it's like, it's an analogy for what you are doing. Like, you know what I
It's the
mean?
blind,
It's
it's
that,
blind following of anything.
yeah, like, you know?
That's the whole point. Islam tells you that you have to like think for yourself. I'll check if Motion wants some sugar. What do you, how many? Yeah, go ahead, bro. Hit him with that sugar. Yeah, yeah. You teeing up, bro. Like, what is the podcast without tea?
That's you, bro.
I'm gonna leave this right here. Live. Let me see this right here. Yeah. So
Yeah, blind following. Then we'll jump into another topic. But yeah, I just want to, because we're talking about the tattoos.
because
And,
on any kind, blind
Yeah.
following of any kind in
Yeah.
life is
Yeah.
dangerous. And I'll give that like, even if you're following something that is to be correct, you just got lucky, really. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Because the reality is you have to be able to question things. You have to be able to understand why you believe something. And then that starts checking you. Because when you start having ideas that are like fantasy, mythology
Yeah,
in
exactly.
your religion
Yeah, yeah,
or in
yeah.
your beliefs, and then you mock other people who have the same thing.
Exactly,
You
yeah.
have to check yourself because either it's okay for them to have whatever they believe,
Exactly.
or it's not okay for none of you.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot say, well, that's impossible to happen, but then my impossibles are okay to happen. You know, so That's what it is for me. Like
100%.
I believe what I believe based on the fact that it's rational and it's logical. But yeah, anyways, bro.
And you try to keep it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're talking about rational and logical. Remember the recent thing about AI, like they're actually creating robots.
Bro,
and
that
stuff.
shit was creepy as hell. So they're creating AI, and then like as they were creating the AI, like the AI had, I don't know, its own form of consciousness. It was downloading information. Like they were trying to shut it down and destroy it, and then the AI was downloading information on how to rebuild itself.
Wow.
How to rebuild itself. Yo, it's some like iRobot shit, man.
Well, I mean, that's once you give it artificial intelligence, you're pretty much saying that it can think for itself and it can plan strategize for itself.
for you.
Yeah. They do.
Yeah, yeah, and the whole AI thing, bro. It's like, like it feels like a disaster waiting to happen. You know what I
It
mean?
would be something that would be beyond. Like, man, I don't know. I just think that maybe not something we can come back from. Because we use like technology in order for us to live.
Yeah, bro.
And so if they have a better handle of technology, being that they are technology, that might be a problem.
I mean, their bodies. Like, why are we building these things that are better than us? Like, they're literally better than us in terms of like, not in terms of being human, but in terms of like strength.
Bro, if it's better than us, as long as it doesn't think for itself, we can control it's better.
Yeah,
And the
right.
second that it knows it's better than us,
And then it starts taking over, and it's like,
that's when it's a problem. Bro.
you guys are some bitches. I'm done with you. Kills us all.
What says that, we are destructive and we have to be put on curfew and we have to,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Like,
sure I'll
what?
find that out.
Curfew? That shit would be crazy as hell, bro. Imagine that.
I sent you that on Instagram.
Yeah, bro. You sent me that shit on Instagram. Bro, there's a lot of things that people are just not talking about, man.
Like what? Like the revolution going on in France?
France, the Yugo people. What else? There's so many, man. There's so many things that,
On the daily, right?
yeah, on a daily basis, bro. It's crazy shit.
Well,
But that's the world we live in. Information is like everywhere, but it's just what information you take.
29 humans in the lab.
whoa.
And they did it by shooting what he called mental bullets.
What other kind of bullets are there?
The scariest part is that lab workers deactivated 2 of the robots, took apart the 3rd. But the 4th robot began restoring itself and somehow connected to an orbiting satellite to download information about how to rebuild itself.
Oh, God, help us.
Before. And this next sentence, this is a quote. I'm writing this down. I've been doing this for years.
Yo, you gotta show my
This
son.
is serious shit. Linda.
This is
You're never
serious
going
shit.
to hear about this in the news. 4 robots being developed for military.
Wow. Press
Press it to hear it, yeah? Press on it.
just press on the screen.
Bro, that shit's some creepy ass. Yo, but how funny was she? She was like, metal bullets, like,
What he called
Is that what the robot said?
no, she's like, they started shooting metal bullets.
Yeah.
But it's just funny. I was just thinking, like, is there any other type of
Oh, there's robot
plastic?
bullets.
Alright, yeah. Yo, that's crazy, bro. Like, it's shooting metal bullets. Like,
It killed 4 scientists. Its first instinct was to kill.
hey, I mean, look at who created it, bro.
But you know what I don't get? Just because we have the ability to do certain things doesn't mean we should do them. Like, that's this big question that I feel like, you gotta talk to the general public. If you
Yeah,
have to put some stunts
100%.
and fronts that are gonna affect all of us. Like, I get it that we don't know all the information, but listen, that doesn't give you a right.
Yeah,
Like,
100.
just because you have the capacity, and usually you're doing it on our money, on our taxes or whatever. Let's be real about this. Let us know what's up, because if it's not going to be conducive to bettering the world, then why is it in there? Like, could you just imagine for a moment if we didn't have to worry about war and people didn't, and countries and governments didn't spend the immense amount of money that they do on like preparing for war and weapons of war and protection or whatnot. Imagine if we put that amount of money, that amount of time, effort and like resource and intelligence behind just developing our society. Like just developing it from the most minute ways of making it the
Yeah,
most
bro.
productive.
Yeah.
Like permaculture in the
Planting
garden.
trees.
Like imagine permaculture of society. Like
Yeah.
everything is designed to just work harmoniously with each other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
you
yeah.
see what I'm saying?
The cycle, bro. Like working on that, like it's like Zen, right? Like the whole idea of Zen, right? Hey, bro. Hey, Maxon, can we get some lo-fi?
Yeah.
That'd be epic, bro. Bro, like that's why I like the idea of Zen. It's like, and Zen is represented by a circle, yeah. So like, what goes around should usually like come around. It's
Yeah.
like the cycle of life,
Continue,
like
yeah.
you know what I mean. And I think that's what's epic about it. It's like, I think when we start living our lives that way, like understanding that what you put into the world is eventually going to come back to you,
Mhm.
you know. So
Well, you attract energy, man. I
yeah,
feel like
100%.
in real life experience, I went from being such a negative person and having negativity always come my way to becoming a positive person, and then having
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
change. It's
It's different, right? Like having
I wish people who are negative. I wish they would like. I know it might sound like BS, but I wish that they really would understand the power that they have to begin to change their life if and only when they begin to allow themselves to begin to see things in a positive light. Bro, that's why I think the good is so powerful, like remembrance. Because when you're remembering like the creator and being thankful, like gratitude, man, is powerful. And even like scientists, they say this, so they use this as therapy, right? They use this as therapy where it's not necessarily gratitude to God, but they just say, think of something that you're grateful for or somebody that you're grateful to that's done something for you, and think about like thanking them, like, and they scientifically they show that like it releases something in you. That
I mean,
that,
if we think about it, bro, let's look at every society, like, well, every like ancient society. Have we ever had like a full-on atheist society that didn't have any form of spirituality? Like,
no,
we haven't really. And you know, I don't even want to put atheists in this just because atheists don't believe in God, right? But even some atheists practice like spirituality, like meditation. Like they have what they favor. Cool. To you, what you believe, that's awesome.
you mean materialist.
Yeah, like people who
People who
don't.
only believe in what is material, as in no materialists, as in they want money. I mean, they only literally believe
Yeah,
in
this
the
is
material.
it. This
yeah,
is it.
in what can be seen.
And this
what
might
is-
be it. You're right. This might be it. Like we might die and that's it. But far out, like at least act like for me, like it's like at least act like God exists. You know what I mean?
Why?
Because
Why?
because it's like now you're acting out of fear for something higher than you. Like you're actually realizing that you are not the shit. That like there is a bigger purpose. There is a. I'll come back to this again. Like there is a consciousness that connects us all. You're not the only one. You are actually a part of something bigger than yourself.
Well, there's scientific evidence that shows that when a person dies, what their consciousness was what would be known as the soul, right? Their consciousness continues.
Yeah.
Like that does not die. That information stays. Like it's information
That's
that
crazy.
continues. And that's the thing, man. It doesn't end in that way. Like
Yeah.
So then it becomes the question of people who how do you understand that, and what do you believe of what's coming next for the person, for that information? Some people think nothing,
Yeah.
and nothing, but that's
Hey,
not
but
really
like
rational.
let's look at
But different people
that
believe
collective
different.
consciousness again, right? Every major religion believes in some sort of reincarnation, like a
Or you
like
can
a
go
rebirth, not a rebirth into this world maybe, but like
into another
into a-
next room. You mean like okay, so like
Into
another realm, like
into
another
a realm where
existence.
we are judged, right? Say you're like I don't know if this is Hindu or Buddhism, but like you're reborn and you're like a bug or a fly, right?
That's,
But that's
Hindu.
due to your karma, right?
Yeah, Hindu.
Yeah, right. But in Islam, we believe Allah rebuilds us, even if we're chopped into a million pieces and scattered all over the world. Allah will bring all those pieces together, and then He will judge you for your actions. This is like it's like this collective thing we all have, and I see people who tell me like, oh no, I don't believe in that. That's like hogwash. But at the same time, I see them believing in it because it's an unconscious thing that you have that's happening.
What is that? They believe in what?
I don't know what it is. I just believe it's this collective unconsciousness.
Right, that they're connected to a collective consciousness.
Yeah, like
Yeah, of course, man.
and
There's
this-
gotta be a collective consciousness.
and this thing, bro,
Because-
we experience it when we have dreams, for example. Because we all have dreams that are similar. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a dream where you're folding and you wake up?
I would have, yeah, at some point.
Do you
I never
remember
recall.
it?
Not really.
Not really?
I
Marcin,
know.
how about you?
I
Have
do
you ever
feel
had,
like
like,
I've slipped and felt like I've fallen
like,
deep. Yeah.
and then
Enough
you've
to wake
woken
up.
up?
Yeah, yeah.
How about you, Marcin? Have you ever had a dream where like something's coming at you or you've fallen or like and then you've woken up?
Yeah, always.
That it
I've
shakes
also
it away.
had that
Yeah, yeah, right,
experience.
Yeah, okay.
So we've all had this collective unconsciousness, right? Like
Yeah.
we all understand each other. And I think that's like how kids understand each other in a sense too. Like that's how they are able to play games with each other at the park and stuff. Like I don't know, they just adapt into roles. Like, you know, like I'm gonna be this and you're gonna be that.
I was fishing with Jimmy.
Yeah.
There were these two Asian kids that came down, and there were only two rods. Yeah, so the father and my uncle, someone had the rods, and two kids. Depends. So whoever these guys were, the kid told them just go do something. The two kids are walking around, and then one of them says to the other, "All right, I have an idea. I'll be the king of the water. You can be the king of the land."
Right.
They kept on walking. I don't know where they went or what happened. That was just a snippet of their conversation.
The imagination
Yeah.
of children.
Yo, I think that is how laws are built, bro. We take, for example, right? We're like, we'll have this big leader and he'll lead the country.
See, but that's
And-
conditioning.
True, but like, we accept it. We're like,
Yeah, I mean,
cool,
those
yeah,
kids-
that makes sense. Like, just like that kid, he's like, yeah, I don't mind being the king of the land. And like, the other kid's like, but obviously it's like it's a higher, it's a more developed, I'm not saying it's a game we play, but it's almost like that, you know what I mean? It's almost a game we accept.
Because our social conditioning, we design a society, or the way our society is gonna run, like a patriarch or whatever, and then we create like a leader, you know. Because the whole idea of that kid, like those two kids saying, "All right, you be the king of the sea or the water, and I'll be the king of the land." Well, they would have to know what a king was.
It's,
Like
as
they
well,
would have
like,
to be
it's
taught,
based
and
on-
ownership.
yeah.
And ownership.
it's
There is
based
such
on
thing as-
the abilities that they have, right? Like, say, like, for example, that kid who's the king of the sea or whatever, like, whatever it may be, right? What is it? It's a form of hierarchy, but it's a hierarchy of damn.
Who's the leader of the hierarchy?
So, whoever is most not conscious, whoever's most competent for that role. You know what I mean? So whoever's most competent for that role
Yeah.
is usually the person who takes up the role, right?
Right.
Because you can't take up the role of being the leader and you're not actually competent for that role. Or it's like I
It's
don't
called
know.
egalitarian.
Egalitarian.
Egalitarianism. Yeah.
Yeah, when you
Egalitarian.
watch a bunch of kids play here, they all just sort of step into their role.
Yeah,
It's like,
right?
they always make one kid like they always give them
Yeah,
the
right.
role. It's like they always give
The one on the bottom of the hierarchy, yeah?
Always.
Because there has to be position.
This guy.
Right.
This is what we pursue.
I remember, man, there was a fight at primary school who wanted to be the Red Ranger.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Red
that
Ranger
is-
was the one, right?
I was watching this, man, wow,
That's
So,
hilarious.
I had to be the Black Ranger. Black, so we was there. And the Black Ranger in the show was Zach, he was black.
Yeah.
There was nowhere else for me to be.
Yeah, you just have to, yeah, that's the role I usually fit into as well.
But the Red Ranger suffered a lot of two kids that wanted it, man. The vicious
Oh my god.
Power Rangers for real, man. Them two.
That's crazy.
Yeah, surely you remember that, man. You used to play stuff with the step in the role, right?
Yeah.
What were games that you guys used to play?
Like swords, sword fighting.
Yeah.
We were ninjas when we were kids, so we
Ninjas?
actually would tattoo out, like not tattoo, we would cover our faces with t-shirts where you'd have just the sleeve up, like the opening
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it
yeah.
there, and then we made weapons, like because we were hood kids, so we made like nunchucks. We
Yeah,
literally got
yeah, yeah.
nunchucks made, and we had like little like blades and stuff.
That's
We were like
crazy.
10 years old, and we would run around at night, or we'd try to sneak out if our parents had people over, and we would just like go around like we were Ninja Turtles, man. Like that's.
What was the most courageous ninja move like you guys did?
I think my brother, man, because like we snuck into like this building. We were maybe we were even like 8 years old. We snuck into this building and we went through old people's stuff, like all their like mail and everything.
That's
We
crazy.
running around like ninjas, man. Like, could you imagine our faces covered running around?
But yo, I gotta ask. There was a leader, right? There was a leader of that.
Yeah, I mean, and we even had our own little headquarters, and we were called Ninja Guards. How funny is that?
That's
we were the
epic.
Ninja Guards. Like, yeah, I know. There was a leader up there.
But
I'm trying to remember, but there would be.
even
It
though
always
the
happened.
even though the leading position may have been distributed in different ways, right? Like, i.e., I don't know if I'm still contemplating
You know
whether
what?
I believe there is a patriarchy, because I believe that it was a hierarchy of competence. Like,
It's not patriarchy. That's what it's called. So there's patriarchy, which is
egalitarianism.
So patriarchy is by like male. It's male dominated.
Yeah.
Matriarchy is female dominated, and egalitarianism. I struggle with that word so much. That word means that whoever's right for the position is right for the position. Leadership is just going to the most.
The
you
most
know,
competent.
Yeah.
Am
And
I
that's
saying that word right?
competent,
Competent.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Competency.
goal.
Yeah.
But
You want to say Lord of the Flies?
yeah, Lord of the Flies.
Bro,
That's
there's
exactly that.
another. Yeah, there's another one.
Lord of the Flies.
You know,
That's
another
exactly that
analogy.
whole idea of like the leadership role. But see, we were influenced by Ninja Turtles, so obviously, even in Ninja Turtles, they teach you that it's leader, Donatello,
Yeah.
and then everyone plays that role. There's leader Donatello, Michelangelo is the
Right,
like,
right.
and I would want to be Michelangelo because he was the like, yeah, I don't give a shit, yeah, I
Yeah,
just wanna eat
because
pizza and
but even
and
those characters, they all fit into a place. Like,
Yeah.
they all fit, and it's just interesting. Like when people say like, oh, the world's run by like a patriarchy, I'm just like, I don't know if it is,
in
because
some places, yeah,
yeah, like in some places,
maybe most places.
men, right, run
Actually, I
shit.
think in most places it is.
If there are 6 people
Yeah,
and there's 4 Ninja Turtles and 1 Master Splinter,
yeah.
what do the kids do with the other person?
He becomes like one of the
The evil
ninjas,
characters, right?
that you gotta whoop on.
He becomes
Right.
Yeah, he has to.
You would have to. You would have
No,
to.
or
fit
he
that
could
role.
become that guy with the Casey, whatever.
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
stick.
Or you would be an extra. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's always extendo characters, man.
oh man.
I mean, he was alright. He was pretty cool. But yeah, like if you wanted to be a turtle and you end up the dude with the hockey mask, then yeah, you
Yeah.
didn't come out of that.
It
But-
doesn't matter how good you were, you have to get beaten up. You know what I mean?
But do you think as well, like the like the patriarchy has worked its way towards providing a role for like women or whatever? Like,
No.
but that's the thing, right? Like,
I mean, it depends where, because it's not one and the same in everywhere around the world.
yeah, exactly.
Like
yeah.
the reality is patriarchy as it played out in Europe really like it held women down. That's why you had such a strong feminist movement coming from there,
Mm.
because the oppression was real. Whilst when you look in other places like
the
in North
feminist
Africa,
movement right now, bro, is on
no, I'm not
another
talking about right
team,
now,
you
but
know
I'm
what
saying back then, if you look at certain places in like North Africa and like
Yeah,
the Middle
yeah.
East and other places, women had the right to property and land. When women weren't even given the right, like Europe, to vote or anything like that, let alone to have businesses and do their own thing. So it varies, and so it's like, and then you see today in those same places that gave women a lot of rights, now they start stripping back those
Right,
rights,
yeah.
and so
And they use dogma to do that.
they do that, yeah. So the thing is, patriarchy. The issue is, it shouldn't be led by any. I think, like in a certain point in time in the history of humanity,
Yeah.
the reason why patriarchy exists as the dominant,
Yeah.
if not the only thing that really rules the world in the majority, I would say is because at some point in our human history, it was a necessity in the most part. And the reason being is because if you were hunters and gatherers, you generally the men were the ones that were going out and defending the tribe and hunting, right? So they became the ones who made the
Like the
decisions.
roles, right? Those
Yeah.
are the competence roles.
Yeah, exactly. But the roles were kind
But
of
hey,
defined because
by the way, in the Philippines, women used to go out and hunt,
right.
and men used to stay at home and take care of the children and
Right.
whatnot. So it's just like,
But that would be a matriarchy.
Right.
That's
I just
the-
think it's the role is being taken by whoever's more competent for that
No,
role.
but that's the thing about it is that's not what's happening there. If
Right.
all the women are going out and and hunting, and all the men are staying home, that's a matriarchy. That's not it's not egalitarian because the choice isn't there. It's not like in one home the woman stays and the man goes out, in another home the man stays and the woman goes out. And then in Parliament one year or a couple of years we have a woman, and then the next couple of years we have a man. Like either or, whatever. It's not really a big deal. That's egalitarianism. When it's man, woman, big deal, man, that's made a patriarchy.
Why do you think that is though? That it is.
I'm
man,
saying
man,
that because
man.
patriarchy early on in our human history, the men were the ones who were making the rules and saying what's going to happen with the tribe because they were the ones who were hunting and providing, while the women were taking care of the children and whatnot. And if they were warring with another tribe or another group, it was the men that were fighting and making the decisions of how they would fight. And that was a normal reality for people. Men would generally be killed, women would be taken like as slaves or whatever, women and children, and as maids and slaves, and they would be adopted into a new society, right, and sold off and whatever. And then so forever you would have like through brute force male dominance. And because for brute force, for male dominance, as we developed and have evolved just consciously as human beings, we have let go of this like extreme aggression, at least on a individual basis. Sure, countries are
Or at
still
least
aggressive
here
to
in the
others.
West, yeah.
Yeah, but like on a one-on-one, people are not fighting each other in that way.
Yeah.
So you have an even playing field where everyone is kind of that's not the necessity. Now it's just about how you can apply yourself intellectually. You know what I mean? And like even physically, but on an individual level.
Yeah, I think.
So
I
there's
think,
no need for patriarchy anymore.
Yeah, right. Like, but
It's
even
problematic.
the idea that like society was built on like men, like keeping women down. I don't necessarily agree with that either. Like, because I know like I know first of all I know that in history that there have been great women, right?
Mhm.
Maybe not as much as men. Who knows? Well, that's the case.
No. Well,
That's the
no,
case.
not necessarily not as many great women as men, but how many men have been recorded in their deeds in comparison to
Right, yeah. But I don't know. I don't agree with this idea that like men ran like some sort of like tyrannical patriarchy. Like,
maybe not tyrannical in all places, but anywhere where you have a patriarchy means immediately that women will be disadvantaged. Not
Yeah,
all,
right.
not all of them by and large, but a big enough of effect. Because for let's just say, 4 out of 5 women are happy to just follow in the role that they've been given and forced upon. One of them. Where is it? Hey, what's up, son? I don't know the question, man, because like I don't like that sound of that. Somebody else has the question.
It's done. Yeah.
So, I think that like when that happens, 4 out of 5, that fifth person, that fifth woman may be completely capable of doing a certain role, but in society it's like, nah. What do you
Yeah,
mean?
but now we're like approaching it in a really weird way, bro. Where
No,
we're like,
listen, feminism. Here's the issue with a lot of people that you see that are like extreme feminists. They are not saying that women are equal to men. They're saying that women are better than men. You see, there's a difference there. It's in the same way that
but I
if you
don't even
have
think
white
women are equal to men.
No, okay. When they say women are equal to men, they mean that they should have, like, they're equal in like social worth, social value. Not equal in all their abilities. There are
They
things
should
women
have
do
the
and men do that are
opportunities
different.
that men have,
Yes,
right?
yeah, that's
Okay,
equal in opportunity.
it's cool, but like, I don't think they can necessarily have the same outcomes that men have.
How
Like,
so?
if I put a man and a woman in a ring and told them to fight, you can get me the biggest woman, cuz,
Yeah.
and I'll get you
Yeah,
the
but-
biggest man,
Right.
and that man, I will put my money on that man.
That's cool, but here's okay.
Yeah.
But that's not the question being
But-
held. Hold on, that's not the
yeah,
question
yeah.
being held. If you have 2 men fighting in one ring,
Okay.
and then you have 2 women fighting in another ring, and those men, solely because they're men, get paid 3 times more than the women, that's the issue. Do you understand that? And bro,
That's
factually,
opportunity, right?
no,
Like,
it's not even just opportunity, bro. If you go out into the workforce, a woman and a man can have the same exact job. You understand what I mean? Exactly. They could work together, but the man will get paid more solely because he's a man.
Mm.
That's not equal.
Yeah, that's
the
not.
issue.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
getting the same opportunity. But like, I agree with that. Just like there is people who are of color that don't get the same opportunities
Right.
that people who.
But let's just say that that
Yeah.
person of color gets a job somewhere, but then he's not getting paid the same as a white guy. That's what that's like. As in, what it says, it sends a notion that says, listen, yeah, you're women, great, you're doing a job, great, good for you. But listen, the men have to provide and whatever, so we're gonna pay them more than you. That's what it infers. Because at one point in society,
I
men
agree.
were providing
I
with
agree.
everything. But
I
in-
agree. That's for me what equality of opportunity is. The opportunity
Yeah.
to be like everyone
Yeah.
else.
I don't mean that they're equal in the
But
sense
to be
that they're
like,
identical
yo,
biology or whatever.
yo, let's give this person the same thing that, like, for example, the people of color,
Mhm.
right? Let's now strip all these people's jobs away and then replace it with, like, we'll make it 50-50. And we'll bring it together. Like, I don't necessarily believe that should be.
Then it shouldn't be the extreme of, well, we have to have a certain number of this and a certain number of
Yeah.
that. Egalitarianism is, bro, whoever's just good for the job is just good for the job. That's it. We don't live in an egalitarian society. We live in still it's a passive patriarchal society, right? I'm saying egalitarian is that it's completely the norm.
But
the
do you believe
social
that?
norm.
I don't know. I believe a lot of things have been given, as in, like, a lot of opportunities have been given due to this patriarchy. Like, a lot of opportunities for women. Like, bruh.
But do you hear what you're saying? You're saying that the opportunities or the rights that women should have inherently, like off the bat, that thank God that the men gave it to them.
No,
But
I'm
no
not
one
saying
gave
that.
it to
I'm
the
not
no one
saying
gave
that.
it to
I'm
the
saying-
men. The men.
I'm
Just,
saying these things, right? For example, like I was saying this the other day, like the contraceptive pill, like the
a man invented that, yeah.
tampon.
But hold on
right?
a minute. But you're looking at a society where women couldn't get those kind of jobs, so of course the man invented it. Women were expected to be at home. They weren't being in labs and doing all that stuff.
Why was that?
Because of the patriarchy. That's the.
But see, I don't agree with
But
that.
that's cool. But what I'm saying is that's what patriarchy means, and the like social studies on society, it just shows that we live and we've lived in a patriarchy, and the reaction to that patriarchy is that women have eventually fought against it. There are variations when you talk about like feminists or people how they identify as feminists.
Yes, I agree with the fact that men did run a lot of the stuff, and
Still do.
and maybe they still do. Maybe they still do, but
I mean, statistically, they still
Yeah.
do.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I also believe, like, within, like, a lot of the roles, man, I just don't think that you can really strip away what men have done because of and then put it on like a patriarchy, like be like, because a lot of men have, like, for example, that guy who created the tampon,
Right.
like, he saw a problem, yeah,
Yeah.
and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna sacrifice my time to solve this problem,
Mm-hmm.
and then that gave rise to something else, right?
Mhm.
Like a bigger freedom for women.
Mhm.
Like, so I feel like
Yeah, I know,
all of these roles
but,
have been
But that's
pit-
still
like,
based on the premise that that man was allowed to do that. He could spend his time doing that when a woman wasn't given the opportunities in her society to do that. Had she been given that society and squandered it, then I'd say, yeah, thank God for the man. But it's like, listen, I'm going to tie your hands and I'm going to have free hands.
Wait, you believe men? See, that's the idea of the tyrannical patriarchy. Is like men have built everything based on this tyrannical patriarchy, where
I
they
don't think
held
that-
down women and they told them
I
you
think-
can't do shit.
I think by the nature of a
Because, like,
patriarchy-
I don't believe in that. Because, like I said, the first university was opened by a woman.
Yeah.
Like, there has
Yeah,
been
but
enlightened women.
you're speaking of the world over as one and the same thing. There's differences between how patriarchy has been displayed and matriarchy been displayed throughout societies all around the world and throughout time. It's not one and the same. So where I said that in this society you would say it's a passive patriarchy, not a tyrannical, because although the patriarchy is still in effect, women have been able to break through. Sure, it's still not exactly easy. It's not the same, but they're not completely blocked off. So it's the passiveness is there. It's like passive racism. This country is racist, but it's like quietly racist. But then it shows you how racist it is in its essence, right? It's like that. While like tyrannical racism would be
How do
literally
you-
they come into
Can
your
I
home
ask
and
you,
pull
how
out
do
of
you
your
solve
house.
that?
I think it's slowly. the whole thing is slowly
Equality of outcome or equality of opportunity?
egalitarianism. That's it.
Right,
So,
that's equality of opportunity.
Yeah, equality of
so then
opportunity.
you can't be like, because okay, do you believe we have that
where's we
in the West?
in the West? There's a variance of it, but I think we are going to that direction. But I don't think I say that we have a passive like a passive patriarchy. Because I think that patriarchy still exists because by and large, all the leaders, everyone making the decisions, they're men. And they're not just men, they're middle-aged or older-aged white men. And that's the whole issue. Diversity is the issue, not just in gender, but diversity in cultural like world views and norms. If you're representing Australia or America or whatever, then represent all the people that you have there by having a diversity of a representation of the people there as the people representing making the decisions as the leaders. That's the only way you're going to get true egalitarianism. You see what I'm saying? But that's what I think the goal is of a progressive society is to get to that point. But throughout our history, by and large, we've had patriarchal society. First, I believe, out of a
So you don't
social
think that
necessity.
you don't think that men were actually just good at what they did?
No, you
and that's
understand what I'm
they
saying?
did?
Out of a cultural necessity. It originates from a cultural necessity where men were the hunters and the women were the gatherers and they took care of the homes and the men fought the wars and defended them and protected them. So hence they played the patriarchal role. It was a necessity. But as we've developed and become civilized more and more and social,
Yeah,
we
I
have
agree with that.
And we have like police force, you're not fighting to defend your woman in that way. It becomes like a balanced thing where then the opportunities that should be naturally the society should go into egalitarianism. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it was evil. I'm not saying patriarchy is evil. I'm saying at some points it was a necessity, right? And the same way I'm not saying matriarchies are evil, but I'm saying that they're not completely. They're not.
I think
the
the
best
roles that were
circumstance.
held by men were held by men for a reason. That's what I believe.
For how long?
For what do you mean? How long? Like
I
we
mean,
are
like,
here today
yeah.
because of what has happened in the past.
Right. So like, at what point were men making started men like the fact that it was just men? At what point was that problematic? That's the question. It's not the question. Isn't that men cannot make decisions? The question is, or the issue is, why is it just men that are making decisions rather than it being a mix of men and women?
Do you believe that there is a difference between men and women?
Yeah, of course there are. There's multiple
Okay.
differences.
Can you repeat your question? Sorry.
See, the issue of a patriarchy is that when it's leadership solely by men, and that's the normality of it. So even if a woman is able to rise up, she's an abnormality, a rarity,
Yeah.
right? Then that reflects the fact that what you have there is patriarchy.
I think it's based on how well you do what you do.
Good. No, but I agree with you. It should
Like
be
you know how
based
that
on
question, right? Two fights, man versus
Yeah.
man versus woman. That could never happen,
Yeah,
right?
man
Because
versus
it's not
man and
equal.
woman
Like
versus-
we
Yeah.
already know that.
Yeah,
Now we have the fight, yeah?
Yeah.
Two women fighting and two men fighting.
right.
Which fight is better? That's what you get paid more for. It's like if that fight isn't as entertaining as that fight,
Yeah.
then you're definitely not gonna get more money.
100%, 100%.
And that's
But that's my point is when you transfer that same example from a fight into an office,
yeah.
right? Where it's not about well, you can say who's
How
better.
well you do your job,
Yeah, but
right?
that's not the case though. That's what I'm saying to you, Muhammad. That by law in this country, that isn't the case. That if you and
Why
I
is
do
that not the
because
case?
it's patriarchy.
Yeah,
That's
but
what-
why? It's built on something,
on
bro.
patriarchy.
No, you can't
it
just
is.
say it's built.
I told
There's
you what it was built
reasons.
on. I told
Okay.
you what it was built on. It was built on the notion that men were the providers, henceforth they would get more money.
Hold up.
But
You're saying
society now doesn't work that way.
wait. You're saying that men get paid more than women based on the patriarchy. So not because women have certain months where they need to take off because they get pregnant or
No, because then
because
that
they get
infers that
periods or
no,
they
because then that infers that every woman's gonna go get pregnant. So that's already making decisions on women. But like, think about the notion of that it's already a preconceived thing. Well, we're gonna pay you less because at some point.
Well,
you're
I
gonna have
agree.
to-
I agree, right? The
But that's
payment,
not-
right?
that's not equal.
It's opportunity, right? That's what we should be chasing. It's not.
So do you agree, or do you think that a man should be getting paid more than a woman for doing the identical job? Not better, not worse, the identical job.
The identical
The
job
identical job.
should be getting paid less or more.
Do you think a man should be
I
getting
think-
paid more than a woman for doing the
It
identical?
depends what the job is, right? Like I said, like in the fight.
No.
It's who
Outside of
does
the
it
fight.
better.
No. Because then it's not
If
identical.
you are
No,
more
because then it's not
if you are
identical.
more competent at doing what
You're
your
not
role
understanding what I'm
is,
saying, Mohammed. Identical means that they're
should
exactly
they
the same.
get no? Obviously not.
Well,
but
then
that's
the
not
patriarchy.
equality of opportunity,
But
though.
that doesn't exist yet. That's what I'm saying to you. That this is what you have
Yeah,
in
but
society.
okay.
that
But
you
what
have.
are you saying? So you're saying now?
What I'm saying is that you're saying that patriarchies don't really exist, and I'm saying
Why?
to you, if
Why?
they don't exist,
Why?
Mohammed, if they
Hold
don't
on.
exist,
Why did I say that?
I don't know.
Because women and men are not equal.
Okay, see, this is the thing. When you keep coming back to this,
No, that's my reason though.
No,
Like that's
but-
my whole thing is built on
so
that men and women are different.
right. But here's what I'm saying to you. They're different, but in not every single thing are they different. If they can do the same
Yes,
job, hold
yes.
on,
If
let
they
me-
can do the same job, they deserve the same pay.
But-
But they are different.
But that's a no here point. That's not an actual point when it comes to what I'm talking about, where patriarchy plays its role.
Yeah.
You're making points about biology. And this is not about a biology of men and women are biologically different. This is when you put a man and a woman who have the same capacity to do the same job in an office, on a computer. They're intellectually the same. You know that, right? Men and women have the same ability for intelligence, right?
Except the woman needs to take
What?
a break when she gets pregnant, right?
No.
So we have to take that into
No,
consideration,
no.
right?
That's
Or do
okay.
we not take that into
Yeah,
consideration?
we don't take that in consideration.
Okay.
Some women are not going to get
Some
pregnant.
women.
Right, so you believe that
I'm not saying all women, but I'm saying okay. So
Bro,
should they? Do
your-
they? Hold on. Let me
your
finish.
argument
Hold on,
is that
hold on.
because women get pregnant, they should get paid less than men for doing the
No,
identical
I'm
job.
saying they're not the same, bro.
Bro, but the thing about it is I get you're
I'm
saying
not
that,
saying that they should not get paid the same, bro. That's not my point. I believe people should be paid on their competence, on what they're able to do.
right? And I'm saying to you, you don't believe that there's a patriarchy in society, and then so I'm telling
Not a
you.
tyrannical patriarchy, not
So then
a
I'm telling you-
patriarchy that was built on the backs of like enslaving women and telling women what to do. Or
No, well, okay, so then let's even go back to when women were like initially allowed to begin to work, because they weren't allowed to work, right? So is that not patriarchy, tyrannical patriarchy? Well, what I'm
Why
saying to
did
you is,
men-
how do you
why did
describe?
men-
If you don't see this as if you don't see this as like a patriarchy, how do you describe or explain the idea that a man will get paid more for doing the identical job that a woman can do?
abilities.
You know, identical means that they have the same ability.
Okay, so if the job is
Why-
identical,
Right, they're doing the exact same thing. Right? I don't know how
think-
how other to explain it. They both just as
because it's not equality of opportunity. They weren't given the same opportunity.
right, and that's a reflection of a patriarchy.
Yeah, but bro, no, it isn't. It's just a
Then what-
reflection of not having the same opportunity.
Which is a reflection. But if it's not having the same opportunity based on your gender, that's because of patriarchy. That's what that's called. Like that's gender racism, not gender racism. It's like sexism. The idea that one is different to the other in a sense of one has more value, social value. Henceforth, if you're doing the identical job, I'm going to pay you more. That I'm saying that the idea this is pushed as well. This is an evidence of a patriarchy. If you don't want to call it tyrannical, whatever, it's patriarchy nonetheless.
Yeah, I
Right?
agree.
And I'm not saying that it's always negative, but I'm saying a reflection of its negativity, which is why it's not a good model. It's a model that is workable, but the perfect model for how we're being progressing as human beings is egalitarianism, where everyone has the exact same opportunity to perform it. The person that is best for the job is best for the job. Now, in some jobs, a man is going to be best for the job solely because his physical capacity is going to be more suited for that job than a woman. There might be a woman every now and then that'll come along
Yeah.
that breaks that norm, but by and large, right? Yeah, that's acceptable.
Or whatever role they fit in, right? Like there's jobs that, for example, IT, right? Men.
I mean, if you're better at decoding whatever, if you're just better at the job, you deserve the job,
Yeah,
no matter what you are.
100%.
That's what I'm saying. That when you look at societies, there's a society in North Africa that is matriarchy. So like the women kind of rule everything. The men like dance to get the women like for marriage. Like it's complete opposites, right? So even in that regards, I would say that's an imbalance. the way I look at balance, how I look at like things like the yin and the yang, especially on a spiritual way, is that when you have a society that has the balance of the masculinity with a bit of femininity in it, which is defined by the man, and you have femininity with a bit of masculinity in it, defined by the woman, you're balancing out your society. So that is conducive to a better society, because we've been created distinctively different with a purpose. And when you combine those differences, what you have is a balance in a harmonious society. When you have an imbalance, whether it's majority men or majority women, you're going to eventually find that society is going to be oppressive to the other, or it's going to be problematic, because you're going to have either too much femininity or too much masculinity.
Right, the balance, right?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And that's why I say that any society, like even at any level, if it's patriarchal, then it's still not the best form. It doesn't mean it's evil. You know, when you look at even prophets, when in the societies that they lived in were predominantly patriarchal, because that was the social norm. Especially back then, that was a necessity. That's what I'm saying to you. Back then, you generally had men as leaders, because generally there was a tribe, and that tribe had to literally defend itself from other tribes. So you did have some women, like the Queen of Sheba. She was a woman who ruled her people. That's
Yeah,
not
like Cleopatra too, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like Islamically, she wasn't seen as it wasn't seen as a negative thing that she ruled, right? So they're not like negatives in and of themselves. But I'm saying, eventually we grow out of them. You used that term before, hermetic. What is it? Hermetic. What's the term?
Principles.
No, it's the term when things like evolve over time.
Trajectory hermeneutic.
Trajectory hermeneutic, right? And that's kind of that's how I look at things like patriarchy or even matriarchy. That at one point they may have been necessities, but as we've developed socially,
but my problem with it
Right.
is this idea. It's that it's been tyrannical. Like it's been like men have, like.
You've been watching some like feminist fails or something like that. Like
No, I just see the arguments, bro, and I'm just like, these arguments are mad weak.
Which
like,
arguments from?
like, yeah,
Yeah, like, can you share
like
some?
for the idea that, okay, here's one, that we should not give gender roles to kids before they reach a certain age, because their gender should be neutral until they reach a certain age. And then it's like, why?
Right.
Men are men and women are women.
Yeah.
We have to understand already what we are. Like you said, there's a natural balance to it, right?
Yeah.
But when we take that away,
Yeah, but
and then we say,
okay, so that's not feminist, or maybe they push that, but that's not necessarily a feminist movement idea. That's just like I'm sure other groups will claim it. So we can talk about that, but I just mean that doesn't necessarily go against. Like that's neither
it's the whole
patriarchy
idea
or
of gender
matriarchy.
roles, bro.
Yeah, that's
isn't
even.
it?
Yeah, that's really just about like more so like gender roles, and I guess.
But that whole idea of patriarchy is,
What you mean based on genders?
isn't it?
I think it's based on anatomy initially. It's based on the fact that you have, if you look at the biology of human beings, they come in two forms predominantly, by and large, 99%. You have the forms that have genitalia
The
of
X
a male.
chromosome and the Y
Yeah,
chromosome.
right.
Yeah, right.
So
But do you
on a
think
natural
the
balance, that's what you have. You have the male and the female. Now, if you don't want to identify as man or woman or tree or helicopter, whatever, all these things, that's irrelevant to a child. A child should identify as a male or a female, or sorry, as a man or not man or woman, as like it's if genitalia wise, what you are, right?
Mhm.
So that way, like you understand that as you get older, I mean, people can believe whatever they want to believe, right, about themselves and how they identify.
100%.
But as a child, you're not really capable of those kind of. You're not capable of knowing if chocolate's good for you for dinner, let alone who you are. I mean, I always look at it as we may overthink things, we may overdevelop things based on how our psyche, which is just our subjective reality. But nature is a great, checker for you, because
100%.
the natural way things are generally is the objective way that things just are. So nature shows us that some humans have a vagina and some have a penis. And that's pretty much, if you want to bring it right back down, do you have a vagina? Stand over here. Do you have a penis? Stand over here. I don't care what else you identify with. These two things show that there's a distinctive change
Okay,
in
here's
your
one.
physicality. And that's going to affect
There's
how you are about
people who started racing, right? Transgender people.
racing.
Yeah, like
Oh, running, yeah.
Running
And they're
race,
like
right.
mad, muscular, mad.
yeah, right. So they come in and then they go into a race with women.
Yeah.
Do you believe that's fair?
Does he have a penis?
No, he has a vagina. Or she has a vagina.
She's changed it to a vagina.
Yeah. Do you believe that it's fair
For her to race?
to race with these other women?
So here's the question then: if we're gonna keep the term women, I think that then it becomes problematic. If we're allowing people to change, then maybe we need to throw out all of it then, to have no titles, because how is it that if I can
That's
just
so
switch?
chaotic.
No, of course it is. But hey, if what do they call it? It's the slippery slope, right?
Isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. So the slippery slope. I mean, if you're gonna say that does that man,
There's a
does
thing.
that woman,
Yeah.
did she win the race?
Bro, she smashed them.
Because she's physically.
Because she is and she has this thing called testosterone
Hmm.
that men have.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, I think that if you have
That also separates the
Well, they
roles of
take
men
stuff.
and women.
they take stuff to change that, like estrogen, in order
Yeah,
to.
they do.
Yeah.
They do, but
But
they
do
have
I
to
think
take
that's
stuff.
do I think
you know
that's
what I mean?
okay? I think if your society wants to celebrate.
Do you
that that's a
believe?
woman,
Do you
I
believe?
personally believe
Yes,
that's
yes.
okay.
That's what I'm asking.
I think that
Do you believe it's okay for that woman to
I
be
think-
racing with the rest of those females?
if you say like a transgender, I think that the transgenders race themselves.
Do you? That's not the question. Though.
Yeah, you said, do I think it's okay for them to race? I said, no, let them race each other. Let the transgenders race the transgenders.
Do you? Yeah, but do you think they?
Third race. Not third race, third gender.
race. No, there's only two genders. There's male and female.
All right, third sex. No, it's not genders. There's two sex, male and female.
Yeah.
Gender is the
Right.
whole
My
thing.
bad. Yeah. Right.
Two sex.
The
yeah.
two sex.
But
Right.
gender-wise, I mean, that's just another gender. Maybe we should just let. Because here's the thing.
Yeah. Right. It's
you
like
can
the
identify.
LGBTQ
Yeah, but
plus.
you can identify as
yeah.
a woman.
Yeah.
But if surgery changes you, it doesn't make you like. If I go and get like surgery to change, like, all right, so Michael Jackson had vitiligo, and then like he got surgery to change it all, to make it all just white, pretty much, right? Does that not make him a white person? It doesn't. Inherently, he's African American, right? So like I guess cosmetic changes do not alter what's on the inside. In so much, I guess, unless you change, some people you could change everything on the inside, but your sex would still be male.
But they're female. They have a vagina.
Yeah, but is the vagina fully workable? Is it able to, produce eggs?
See, I think that's the problem with the postmodernist argument.
What's
Like-
the first one?
Like this idea that there is no gender, like all of these things that are things that we've put into labels, like you know
Right.
what I mean.
But maybe there is no genders, but there are sex.
So you don't believe there are two genders?
Listen, I think that whether I believe it or not, it's still I think it's still somewhat subjective. When in nature it would only recognize as
No,
naturally
I
as
agree,
sex,
I agree.
male. And
Let's talk about this new law of where you have to, if somebody goes to you like, if I don't want to be called a female, sorry, I want to be called like, I don't want to be called he or she. I want to be called whatever. Like, no.
They.
So they, yeah, or whatever, right? Sorry, I thought you said gay.
No, they. Yeah.
Yeah.
They.
Yeah, talk closer to the mic.
My bad.
So yeah, like.
So you don't believe? There's a law. What law was that?
So there's apparently like they're trying to put in a law in place where if you don't call the person by what they want to be called by, then it's like illegal and you could
What?
yeah
Nah, I
it
don't-
could become
come
a
on.
criminal.
Hold on, what
See,
happened
but
to
like
freedom
you
of
said,
speech? What happened to
it's a
having my perspective?
it's a slippery
Of
slope,
course it is.
right?
And I don't agree with all of that stuff, because the thing is, if you want to
that's- hey.
believe that you are whatever you are, be you. And I
That's the
respect
postmodernist
the
argument,
right that you
isn't it?
have the right to be you and believe in yourself as you are. But like if you come up to me and say I'm a dinosaur, I'm not gonna start calling you a dinosaur.
But now you have to call me a dinosaur, otherwise I'm gonna fucking sue your ass.
I ain't got nothing. Well, man, listen. I heard that flying helicopter is one of the genders now. Like that's a qualifier with gender or something. Look, the way I look
In my
at it is,
opinion,
if
there
you
is
speak
only
to somebody
two,
who has these
And they
feelings, they
both-
might tell you, well, I don't identify with that. And it's the
Yeah.
thing. I understand. I think it's sincere when some people don't. It's a sincere thing. But then I question, and I'm not saying that I believe this. I'm just saying, do these things fall under like social disorders, like mental disorders, like I'm not saying they do. I'm just saying, like, if you see yourself as something that you're not,
Mm.
like if I run around saying I'm the Messiah, people might put me in a mental ward, right? They might say like, oh,
Messiah complex.
yeah, the Messiah complex. But if I say I'm something that I'm clearly not, but I believe I am, and I'm going to change myself into that,
And if you don't
is that
agree with
is
me,
that a
then-
mental issue? Like, I don't know.
I think the law is going to be placed in the UK.
Right. So it's
How
not-
crazy
right,
is that?
Right. So over there, that's the. Hey man, I mean,
I think they have that here as
the
well.
good guy in me just wants to be like, hey, like if it makes
Maybe-
if it makes your life easier,
To me, I
it's
don't
just
agree with it.
confusing to me.
I don't agree with it
Yeah.
because I believe there are two genders,
Two genders or two sex?
two sex, two genders, right?
But you know, Islam recognizes the third gender.
What is the third gender?
So in
no
Pakistan,
gender.
in Pakistan, for example, they have areas where third gender people live. Third gender is, and it's even during the Prophet's time and following. No, they're not banished. They just allow them. They just allow them to like have their own places and stuff like that, right? But
Yeah,
they don't.
like-
They recognize. They
Yeah.
recognize.
They did one
They
of those
recognize.
songs.
And even during like
Yeah.
the Prophet's time and following him,
Mm-hmm.
that there are accounts of men who believe themselves to be women, and so I think the way that they looked at it is, I mean, if you're down enough to chop your own penis off, or get your penis chopped off, then who am I to tell you that you're not? Like if you're that, like, cause
You're that dedicated.
no man is gonna go and do that. Like you're not gonna do that unless you truly believe you have no need for that and that you're not a man.
Yeah.
Right. So they would recognize that as, you know, as okay, they treat you, but they wouldn't say you're a woman, like you weren't a man. Do you see what I'm saying? Like that you had
okay,
your own.
What if you're a man and you got your penis chopped off? Does that no longer make you a
if you're
man?
less of a man? Then it's a psychological thing. It's how but what's what I'm
No,
saying?
I'm
It is-
asking you. I'm asking
No, it doesn't
you.
make you doesn't make you no less of a man. No, because you still have your balls, right? Like you listen. If
What
you,
if you got them all chopped off?
okay, if you had it all chopped off,
You know
right,
what it
a
is like?
eunuch,
There
right?
is a chromosome
Yeah, so it's the
It's-
chromosome. Yeah,
and Y, right?
yeah, yeah.
That makes a man.
Right.
That makes,
So I'm
and
saying,
that
so
happens, bro, when we're in our mother's stomachs. You know, when we're being developed, we're all women. And
Yeah,
then,
right. Yeah.
and then this thing
all
happens.
females.
Yeah, we're all females, right? And then this thing happens where we have a penis or
Yeah.
we don't.
Yeah, the Quran says that. It speaks of it in femininity, as in the beings are initially feminine, and then so it's like right. But what I'm just saying is that like you on a biological level, you do have the male and you do have the male and the female, like sex. But you do have people who come out with both a vagina and a penis. Like you have all varieties, and that's normal to
With
have.
both.
Yeah, they come out with both genitalia. And so usually what happens is parents decide which one to keep or whatnot, or they don't, hermaphrodites. And so the thing is, Allah creates in all forms and ways.
Mm.
But there is like a predominant, the
And then
norm.
man fucks with that shit.
Right. There's the norm, there's the dominant, and it's not the all, but it's the majority. And then there's those who are not, right? Like the rarities or so. But no, in the majority, you're looking at it and you're saying, yeah. So it's just like the Y or the X, and it's just like the male or the female.
That's just the way it develops. Like, that's just,
Like the gender, like the sexes are the male or female sex. But then so I think
even
it's,
when you become, like, even when you're born, right? And you're like, oh, I don't identify myself as a whatever. I'm gender fluid. I'm a man today and a woman tomorrow.
no, I don't think that's like that you should that you
Well-
could, that you could it could just be interchangeable. I think that the whole idea is that you truly believe psychologically you believe this is who you are. It's not an act. I think that's the differential. Now I'm not saying some people don't act or they whatever. Like I don't know what people's intentions are with anything.
Some people think they're chickens, bro.
Yeah, of course, people are
I'm
gonna
not
do
gonna
some
call you
crazy
a
shit.
chicken because
But
you're
every
called a
society,
chicken.
the thing is, every society is built on like a subjective idea of how it wants to run or what it wants to accept in itself. So when societies, So everything is at some level subjective. Even how we use currency, like money, is
Mm,
subjective
mm.
with its value. So if a society decides that subjectively we want to attribute people to being other than what is naturally obvious biologically, then we can choose to do that. I mean, people can choose to do that. Go ahead. But the idea that you have to force everyone to now follow suit, I don't agree with that. I shouldn't be forced to say anything. You know what I mean? Now, it could be awkward though. Like I have friends who are gays. You know what I mean?
Cool.
But in my head, they're like a sheep
Yeah.
because like I see like a woman, like like how you identify is one thing, and I respect how you identify, but how I physically, like how I literally see you
Mm.
is a woman or female,
Right.
sex wise. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah,
the
it's
objective and the
interesting.
subjective.
It's an interesting thing, right?
I don't
Yeah,
know how
me
it is.
subjectively, I
Huh?
believe that. Yeah,
That's
like I
wrong,
said,
right? Yeah.
not wrong, not wrong. I believe that you could do whatever you want with your body. Don't force me to call you what you want me to call you. But I also believe that there are only two genders.
I think that like if you let's say you have a complete sex change and you become a woman, I think that you have a responsibility to tell any man that you meet or any partner that
That
you
that
meet.
hap-
that
Because
happens.
bro, what if that man wants to have kids with you?
Right. What if
There
that
is
man-
a there is a thing within a woman's
Yeah,
stomach
yeah.
that
that's why naturally you are a woman and naturally a man's a man because you both provide a need that each other has, and it's
Yeah.
not just the desire of sex, but rather that there's a womb.
I think it started in the very beginning, man. Maybe who knows? Maybe we were like a cell that broke off, and then it was just like it was one cell, and then it became two, and
Yeah,
then whatever,
mitosis.
whatever. So, and then we evolved into what this is, and now maybe we're gonna evolve into some other thing.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But it's just
Allah says
about
that He better, develops us.
yeah,
We get better and better, in a sense. Because, I mean, that's how evolution works, doesn't it? So, but how society sees things, I mean, like, it's a slippery slope of how you subjectively see things. I think any group that fight for their subjective right in society, I guess, eventually, get awarded that. Scientology fights to be seen as a religion, and it's kind of the same thing. I guess it's just how society wants to view things,
mm.
and that's why it changes from society to society. But yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, like, people want to.
It's a loaded
It's
the
huge, bro.
whole thing is loaded as hell.
Because I
bro.
try to always think of it as well from a humanistic perspective, in the sense of how they, excuse the pun, see things or experience things or understand things, and that's such a personalized thing, and that's why for me it becomes such a problematic thing when you expect all of society to like recognize such an individualistic identity.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
where is the cutoff? Like, what is
Like,
the,
what if
defines
someone disagrees, right? Say you teach at a university, and you disagree with this method like for me, right? Like me and you just disagreed on something,
it?
right?
Yeah, which is fine.
Which is fine, but like, what if now you disagree, and then the university staff is like, "Yo, you gotta get out of here because
Yeah,
like
of course.
you
It's
can't
social
teach it
norm.
because
Yeah. Is it how you? Yeah.
Is that right? That's not right. In my opinion, that's
listen,
not
I'm
right.
not saying that it's right. I'm saying that society has these things where you can speak about some things and some others. I mean, that's the kind of the facade of freedom of speech in a sense, where some things you're allowed to criticize in such a way that it's almost deeply hateful, and other things is like you got to walk on eggshells. And I just think those who have power, economic and political power, or whatever they want is going to be the way of the subjective world of that society. And that's what people understand, that's its economic power. So if a group fights for its right economically, its right will eventually be brought to them, because it's not something you inherit just out of nowhere. It's something that you kind of force upon the society. People who came and took land from others, then they placed their own laws that suited them. They placed inherent rights for them and took from others. So it's like, if people are rallying and putting money behind their agenda, then eventually their agenda is going to be suited, and everyone else is going to be looking like, what the hell? My thing is, even with the vote, say yes vote and the no, like say no, and people were like, I was questioning about how do you feel about gay marriages or whatever, and I said, listen, this is a secular society that allows freedom of religion and freedom to practice my deen, and so under Islam, that makes it a lane where I'm good. Like,
Yeah, it's like
right?
Imam Malik was asked about like if we found people and they were practicing incest, what should we do? And he said, let them be, let them practice what they've been practicing.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not our way, but they don't follow our, like, well, they're not Muslims. So let their culture be their culture. Right, so as long as you're allowed to. So they really kind of identify, they say that a nation could be at war with Islam, as in where you're not really allowed to practice, or, like what China's doing to the Muslims right now. You wouldn't call that a place of peace for Muslims. Or then a place could be a place of peace or a place of Islam where you're allowed to practice it. Now, this place, you are, Australia or the West, pretty much you can. There is discriminations and whatnot, but you pretty much can't practice it. Now, this society as well enables gambling and prostitution and interest and a whole slew of things that go against the general principles of Islam as well. I don't see people like rallying to stop these things. Whilst the idea of gay marriage, it's not Islamic marriage. It's a documental marriage, a governmental marriage of a secular place. I don't care what they do. Like, if I had to start caring about that, my list of caring should have started a long time ago.
But you have the right to say what you want to say about it.
No, of course.
Yeah.
No, 100%. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying I have nothing to say.
Yeah.
Because no one asked me how I felt about alcohol being sold, or about gambling, or about,
which is
right, about a whole bunch of other things in society that are actual ills. Yeah, I didn't hear anybody bring that to me, but they'll bring this up. And so I don't, to me, it's like, it's not that
Speaking of the right to say what you want to say,
yeah.
let's just flip this shit on its head. Did you watch Kodak and Ebro?
No.
Bruh. Yeah. So like Kodak and Ebro, how Ebro, okay, you gotta watch
Kodak
this.
Black had an interview with Ebro.
Ebro, yeah, and
And
Ebro
Ebro went at it.
and Ebro said, how do you feel about having the sexual assault charges put on you? And then Kodak was just like, man, this is some fuckery, I'm out of here. And he just got up and he left.
Right.
And then Ebro was like, don't tell me what the fuck to say on my show. And Kodak was like, fuck your show, you know what I mean? Like, as he's walking out. It's just interesting, like, I was just wondering if you've seen that, because, like,
No, I didn't. But
it's just a very interesting moment, because I was just like, I wondered what you would have thought of it, like, like, who was right in that situation.
I mean,
who was...
he's there to speak about his music, right?
Yeah.
And I know that they're gonna get into your life, and that's what people want to hear about. Cool, but the question was, how do you feel about your sexual assault? Okay?
Yeah, like,
How was he
he was like to him, we take sexual assault sexual assault charges very seriously, man. And then Kodak was like, what? And then, they're changing.
So that infers that he thinks he's guilty of it.
I think they wanted to get him to talk about it for entertainment, man.
Of course they do. I mean, listen.
And
That's
Kodak was like, you're not going to use my fucking suffering for entertainment.
Wow, he said.
He didn't say that,
But
but
that's pretty much
what
that.
he was
But
inferring,
yeah.
It was like, you guys always trying to use, like, like a black man's suffering as entertainment.
That's what he said.
Yeah, he pretty much said that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. That's what these shows are about, though. They're trying to get their ratings. They're trying to keep themselves relevant, so they're going to say some crazy things. That doesn't mean it's justified at all. I think, man, these are human beings that are going through things. Like, I saw that Travis Scott thing. I don't know if you saw that somebody dressed up like Travis Scott. Their hair, everything, made themselves look like it, and they got somebody to take photos of them with this girl in a bikini hugging all up on her. That's clearly not his baby mama, Kylie Jenner. And then posted them like Travis Scott quote with a fuck, right? Now they did it as a prank to see the reaction. And you're gonna fuck with a man's life?
Yeah, bro.
He's gonna go home to his woman that's gonna be flipping at him, and he's gonna try to explain, but the picture looked identical. Like, that It Wasn't Me song? It sounded like that kind of shit. Like, but it's not me, but it's literally you.
Yeah.
They said, no, but really.
It
And then
wasn't
3
me.
days later,
Yeah.
they came out and they're like, yeah, it was just a prank just to see how society, like how people. It's like you're fucking with a man's life, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, at what point did we lose the humanity, like entertainment before anything? It's just like, well, these are real people, like you know. Sure,
And I think that goes even deeper, man. Even into our social, like our social. Is it sociological? Right? Is that the word? Like
yeah. What are you trying to say though?
like our social structures. Even our social structures are like that right now. It's weird. Like it's just it's built on bringing others down and then to elevate other people up, and it's just a weird.
Well, I mean, that I guess comes back to the idea of like capitalism, where it's designed in a way that, in order for one to rise, somebody falls, maybe. But you know, I think I saw this thing that Gary Vee posted up, and he was saying that school, on the Notion thinks about this. Gary Vee said, I didn't fail school. School failed me. School isn't made for entrepreneurs. It's made for workers. And I'm an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, man, damn. I'm a teacher, but I understand what he's saying. But like when I'm teaching the students, I'm telling them, man, like get your skills up so that you could have so many options to try to develop things. In fact, just even seeing a student put in work and try to hustle something, that's what it's about. Like advocating for them to realize that you have the potential to create.
To do whatever you want to
do what you want to do. And don't just become I'm just gonna become a drone. I'm just gonna follow what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
And just as long as I'm getting some money every week, you know what I mean? But it's like you wish they taught at school things like about how they can use their money.
Yeah.
Like, you know, invest some, save some, spend some. You know what I mean? How to like actually create businesses or create ideas, or what they would do in order to. Like, I don't know. I mean, I haven't taught business studies. I don't know if they really go through that. But that means within first year you have to take business studies. And I think that's something that people should just learn, how like their economy works, how money works, how they can maintain their money, how they can save their money, how they should spend their money.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know if that's what they get given. School, they feel like when they go to school, like they're gaining nothing from it. They're being taught stuff that they don't really see a value in. That's a sad shame.
Yeah, man. I don't know if Maxim does agree with it, but I don't know if school has changed. That's for sure. Like, you know, like it isn't what it used to be. Like,
you hear what Gary Vee said?
I'm a big believer in
Homeschooling, yeah.
I
See,
agree.
if you homeschooled somebody, then you would actually be able to teach them everything that they would need. Man, they would become a beast. A beast. If proper education, obviously the parent would have to be educated.
School is good in that it can hurt so many students and guide them in the right direction. That's the problem, man.
It's hurting and guiding. It isn't actually teaching breakthrough, breakout.
It's up to students to really take the initiative, and that's not easy with children. Some pick up 5 to 8.
That is so true, man.
I feel like that's the case for me.
School was just about what.
Like they give you all the opportunity.
Yeah.
But they don't tell you how to really take advantage, or why
Yeah.
you should take advantage of those opportunities.
Well, you compare school with tuition, or people in tuition.
Of course you are. Tuition, exactly. I mean, you could always teach your kids one-on-ones. If instead of school, they just get a tutor to teach them math, set some work for the week,
Yeah, right.
teach them English, teach them like all
Yeah.
that. Man,
That
just like
extra
that.
work, yeah.
No, that's it. They don't go to school.
Just tuition.
I'm saying just tuition.
Mm.
They
I think
homeschool.
in 6 hours of school, 1 hour of tuition, or 2 hours, not too much. 1 hour.
1 hour compared to a whole day of school.
Damn.
Yes, because you got to remember the hour with the tutor will teach them new things and give them exercise that they'll then do later. So they have an hour with the tutor, but then that still will equate to later on being like an hour or two of their own study, because they're now applying the knowledge that they gained. The whole time they're with the tutor, they're just gaining knowledge and how to do it right, no matter what it is.
There's a weekly evaluation.
Our weekly
Of
evaluation,
how you make it free,
right?
and then it gets better and better.
Yeah, bro, that's the way.
That's how I'm gonna learn how to play the piano, bro.
Hey,
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a probably have a piano tutor, right?
Yeah, dude.
So, yeah.
I gotta learn how
It's
to.
expensive, but bro, it's like you gotta pay. You gotta sacrifice to get something back. think that's a big thing as well with humans. I think we were talking about this.
Humans are the only creature that sacrifices.
Yeah, like it's a strange thing that we're.
Well, because we have higher aspirations or the capability and capacity to have higher aspirations. And most animals, or if not all animals, don't generally have higher aspirations other than the immediate ones.
Yeah, like
Whether it's food, shelter, safety, mating, you know, it's just very just like, okay, this is what I need now. Okay,
Yeah.
this is what I need now. Okay, it's just it. While humans are like, okay, I got what I need now, but what do I want? You know, okay, I want that. How do
yeah,
I get that?
long term.
Okay, I gotta do this, this, and this. Okay, yeah, it's long term.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, yeah. The example that I had was which I got from Peterson which was if you give a dog a bone and you go to him, if you wait, I'll give you like 10 bones
10
tomorrow if you can wait. The dog isn't gonna know that. He's gonna be like, nah, man, I want that bone right now.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, nah, I prefer the head up.
Yeah,
That
whereas
bone is
like,
now.
yeah, whereas if you tell a human like, yo, wait 4 years and I'll give you this certificate and you can go out and you can work and you can make this amount of money instead of whatever, sitting at home.
They'll be like, all right, man, I'll
put
sit
in
through
the
all the
time, yeah.
assessments and exams and do it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Without sacrifice in order to achieve that.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is,
Here's another one. A man, say for example, there's bugs that are like, this bug is killing everybody, yeah?
Yeah.
And so he sacrifices his time and his life to figuring out how to get rid of this bug,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, high aspirations.
Yeah,
man. To be able to help humankind.
yeah,
I mean, as much as we hurt humankind, we also help humankind. All the developments that are around us that we take for granted, they came from people. And sure enough, you'd hope that they made some money out of it,
yeah.
but they still.
I'm sure like the theory for the atomic bomb wasn't meant to
For an
be
atomic bomb, yeah.
for an atomic bomb, but humans, man.
Einstein made that, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't really see Einstein as the war type.
yeah, right. Because he kind of escaped the war, didn't he?
Exactly, yeah.
So
But in exchange for him being, allowed to escape, you would wonder what kind of stuff he had to develop from him.
yeah, right. I mean, scientists, man, he probably had all types of shit that he never shared. Shit he burnt, you know, like, it was like, fuck this. Like, I don't want to give this to man. Like, for example, even Tesla. Apparently Tesla had, like, shit that could burn through. Like bolts that could, you know.
Like laser?
Yeah, like electric bolts that could, like, burn ships down and planes and, you know. And he just was like, he had developed a theory, but it was just like, but there was missing pieces, and I believe that's for a reason.
Yeah,
It's like,
he wanted to make sure no one could actually do it.
yeah, he was like,
Like that comes back to that point we
he
made
didn't
earlier.
even like people, bro.
Well, he
for a
probably had
reason.
his experiences, yeah. To that point earlier about just because we have the capacity to be able to do certain things doesn't mean we should be doing them.
Yeah.
I think with like
You know,
our
Mufti
scientific
Abu
basis.
made a funny ass joke. He's like, you know what the term Ashraf al-Makhluqat is?
Ashraf al-Mukhat.
Al-Makhluqat. It's like, al-Makhluqat is like, Ashraf means the highest of creation.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, that's gotta be dogs, like, because they're just so loyal with it. But the term is used for humans. Like the term.
No. I mean, I think I know what you're talking about. What he was saying that's used for human beings.
Yeah,
And
but
then it's
really,
like, and then you look at how human beings, although they're the highest form to aspire to, when they talk about loyalty, they talk about dogs. As
Yeah,
well.
right.
So like, humans don't have the loyalty of dogs.
he was basing it on like a. Yeah, he was basing it on like a poem. That was just, it's funny.
All right, man. I think what's the time? I think we're
11.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Alright, man.
It's been wonderful having this conversation with you. You know, like I actually like when we don't necessarily agree on things, because then the conversation gets even more
Yeah,
interesting.
it's lit.
And I
Real
love that.
lit.
That's what I want. We're probably gonna have to find some things that we don't agree on and then
Yeah,
like,
hey,
save it
there's,
for the
there's
show.
definitely.
Because I'm all for it. Because it's not about.
I honestly
proving right or
don't
wrong.
believe that it is about right and wrong either.
Yeah, it's
so
about
I believe
exploring
it's, yeah,
ideas.
what are these ideas? How can we discuss things logically, bro? Like,
Because you know, generally, what happens when you explore ideas from two sides, if you're doing it right enough, you find a lot of things in the middle that you didn't find before. You know,
Yeah.
that they can spark new ideas or new ways of looking at things. And
yeah,
So it's always good. Always a pleasure, Moe.
Much
Always a
love, my
pleasure.
brother.
This was the Burning Bush podcast. We went straight into it today. I love that. It just went straight into it. No intro needed.
The
If you
intro
don't know,
was what it
you
was.
should know.
Yeah.
You know, make sure you guys subscribe and
100%.
like and comment if there's anything specifically you want us to talk about, and then we can take that topic and then we can take different sides on it, varying on how we feel,
Yeah.
and try to
100%.
smash it out.
We ain't always like
That's
this.
the way we do it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
drop. Like it could be the craziest, whatever it is. Drop,
Whatever, yeah.
drop whatever subject, and what we'll actually do is we'll go and study some of it if we don't know enough about it, and come back and have a discussion about it. Hopefully, we
100.
can punch each other at some only in verbal ways. That's the
love
way.
it.
I mean, the whole point of this is an alternate perspective,
Yeah.
and the whole idea is what better way to give an alternative. I mean, even
It's
if
not
we
just
can
on
agree
Islam either.
about
bro.
anything, yeah. If we agree on some things and we give the alternate perspective in agreement, but sometimes we have two alternate perspectives and we're not in agreement, and that's epic.
And we can all agree that we are the pros of Gold Gold 1984, right?
Yeah, we
agree
were
that we are the pros.
the pros.
We are the ones that were in control, right? The sheep.
Oh yeah. I mean, we are in a society that's
They're the ones like fighting for the scraps when the elite like that.
they're eating and feasting, man.
Yeah,
We're like
100.
far from the elite,
We get the seasoning,
but we get fed the elite's perspective.
of course, so we feel like we share in the
That's
abundance.
why we need the alternative perspective.
That's why we need the alternate perspective. I love it, man. We need to get this guy to do the intros for us. You need to get yourself a mic, man.
Yeah,
Hop
bro.
on with us, man.
You don't
What are
even
you
have to
talking
be
about?
on camera,
Let's
bro.
get this man a mic and get his head here. You know what I mean? Drop some science. This was the Burning Bush podcast, and we like to keep it raw and authentic. And that's how we do it, raw and
100%.
authentic. Because really, we don't want this to be too polished. We want it to be exactly what it is. Trying to invite you guys into some lit conversations and stay burning it up. All right.
Yeah.
Peace and blessings, people.
Bless.
Yeah.